Welcome everyone to the Freedöm Information Evening this evening. I'm Rebecca Gibson, Director of Gibson McLean Real Estate. I'd like to start just by telling you a little bit about myself. I've been in the real estate industry for over 15 years, working with some of the more well-known agencies in the country, and last year I decided to go out on my own and start my own web-based company, Gibson McLean Real Estate. I'm passionate about the area, and I feel that we haven't seen its true potential, its full potential as yet, with many exciting things happening in the area, one of which is the Freedöm developments across the road, which is situated just behind the Good Life Health Hub here tonight at 367 High Street in Belmont. There is a total of 17 apartments that I'm engaged to sell with the developer. 1 bedroom and 2 bedroom apartments starting from $455,500 with floor plan of 60 square metres up to 70 square metres. You may have seen the large sign, but if you look out the windows there, I will be having a display office as of next week, so I'd love you to pop over and I can tell you a little bit more about what's happening. The development offers a chic city living style, a Scandinavian style layout with basement parking and storage facilities. But tonight I will go through that in more detail later this evening, but we're lucky enough to have 2 guest speakers here this evening, Simon Ramsey, a government advisor, and Nathan Code from Diamond Finance in Geelong. They've both got plenty of experience, and we're lucky enough for them to share some of their expertise. And I'll hand you over to Simon Ramsey.